It's a brand new comedy in theaters. Today we are talking The Lost City of Z. No, Dora and the Lost City of Gold. No, actually, The Lost City. Wrong one. How about The City of Lost Children? Still wrong. Alan Quatermain and The Lost City. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. Sometimes you just need something to sit back, relax, and laugh at. Is The Lost City that movie starring Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum?
My name is Jeff.
Today, we're going to talk about it. If you guys like this review, let me know. Drop that thumbs up down below. So, a reclusive romance novelist on a book tour with her cover model gets swept up in a kidnapping attempt that lands them both in a cutthroat jungle adventure. I'm going to start with the rating, as always, just in case you want to take your family. This is rated PG-13 for violence, some bloody images, suggestive material, partial nudity, nothing too sexual, and language. I will say it is one of the more family-friendly PG-13 comedies, but I do think 13 is a good age. And you've seen the trailer. Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum, Daniel Radcliffe, Brad Pitt in this movie, Oscar Nunez from The Office. It's a really good cast. I also did enjoy the storyline with Davine Joy Randolph's character. She makes that storyline because she's hilarious. But the storyline I cared about the most was, of course, that of Bullock's character, who is a struggling writer. Now, not with her success, right? People love her books. They are obsessed, but she's trying to figure out, okay, where do I go from here? There is a backstory there. That backstory has a little something to do, well, actually, a lot something to do with this lost city. But we don't get to that lost city without this kidnapping taking place by Daniel Radcliffe and his squad of individuals. There is a motivation there for him that they kept trying to shoehorn in and make me care about. Wasn't really caring about that as much. All I wanted to see on screen was the chemistry, or, you know, if it doesn't work out, the lack thereof between Tatum and Bullock. But thankfully, they're so good together, man. And I mean, oh my God, they are complete opposites. Sandra Bullock, she's like the straight, no nonsense. I don't really care what this guy's doing over here. It is not the type of guy I see myself going on an adventure with. Channing Tatum, he is he's what you expect in this movie, but he takes that energy and he puts it into this character that is almost the exact opposite from what we have seen him play in the past. He has the physical stature and the physicality as a whole. He just doesn't really know what to do with it because he's not that kind of guy. So like I said, their personalities are opposite, but when they're both placed in this jungle situation, neither of them have any idea what to do. Now, Brad Pitt's character, he comes in and does help out. And for me, it is that chemistry. It's the back and forth moments between the two that make the movie, that give you investment into the story, into their characters, and, you know, seeing them get into situations that they have no clue how to get themselves out of. There were scenes that go for the emotions, and yes, it's cliche, the music kicks in, and you can always tell where this movie's going by its music cues. That, for me, is like an early 2000s romantic comedy. They do not stray away from that in the least bit in this film. But what they also do is they also try to put the focus on, maybe a bit too much, on this treasure hunting story. And even though there is a bit of a spin on it, I found myself not caring near as much about all of that as I was caring about just focusing on these two characters, the escape from the clutches of Harry Potter, of Daniel Radcliffe, who played the villainous presence in this movie. And at first I'm like, well, he's not really all that threatening, right? I guess he's not trying to be, but he's not threatening me, so why would they feel threatened? But then they kind of establish who his character is and jealousy that he has for his family, the fact that he's almost like a spoiled rich brat who's doing this. And I'm like, you know what? He actually fits the role really well, and I'm kind of glad they cast him in the part. It was a complete 180 for me, though. It took me a bit to get there. But when they're running from his character and his henchmen, and every time we would flash back to them, that's what I really enjoyed about this movie. When we begin to focus on the treasure hunting aspects and we get really serious at times, and as we get further in the film, it gets a bit more serious, and I was thinking to myself, I'm just not as into this because it feels like a cheap version of other movies that I've seen in the past, and the comedy is not near as prevalent as it should be. Now, the comedy itself, does it work? It was back and forth for me. I would say 50-50, you know, and that's not the worst split I've ever seen in a comedy. I was laughing about half the time, and then there were other jokes that just fell completely flat. Even my theater, which was fairly full, they were all just kind of like, okay, well, there is more to these characters than meets the eye, and that's not a Transformers reference. I guess it is. Is it? Sure.
My name is Jeff.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that they tried. The script, it's jumbled, it's tonally inconsistent, it's kind of all over the place with its actual story, and I do wish the focus was there on what made it work so well in the first place. And then we'll go away from our characters, a side story happening, and again, she's absolutely hilarious, but I felt like that storyline would kind of take away from the momentum. Every time we would get it, then we would cut back, and they started leaning really heavy into the treasure hunting side of things, and I'm like, yeah, this, okay, you know, it's not appealing to me. It's kind of hard to dislike this movie, though. I got to watch it with my dad. We walked out like, yeah, I mean, it was funny. It's a romantic comedy. It worked for what it was trying to do, and Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum, they're not going to be bad. It's just not going to happen. They're also going for this arc in their relationship, and she was so feeling one way at one point. I didn't feel it was as natural as the movie wanted it to be because it only took maybe one or two events for mindsets to drastically change. And I'm like, yeah, it feels like that's happening because the movie wants it to happen instead of it happening organically. But again, I bought it because I was having that fun with the two actors. Before I give you my score, what is your favorite romantic comedy over the last couple of years? Favorite Bullock or Tatum movie? The Lost City works well when it is focusing on the fantastic chemistry between Bullock and Tatum. While the film embraces its silliness, the adventure aspect just isn't as appealing as the script wants it to be. It occasionally falls flat, but the overall result is a fun one. I'm going to 62% with my score. I enjoyed it. The movie did exactly what it tried to do. Nothing more, but it is one that I think a lot of people will dig if they're big fans of the genre or just big fans of these actors. They managed to put the whole thing on their shoulders. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. A lot of Oscar content this weekend.